Geopolitical maneuvering, Russia's strategic advantage in Venezuela's oil sector. Russia can strengthen its position in the oil sector thanks to Venezuela. Seeking control over a portion of Venezuela's oil industry is advantageous for Russia not only economically but also geopolitically. The Bolivarian Republic is akin to an unsinkable aircraft carrier near the United States. The situation in Venezuela is tense. The opposition continues to reject the National Electoral Council's (CNE) decision recognizing the country's incumbent president, Nicolas Maduro, as the winner of the popular vote. Nicolas Maduro himself pays no attention to this, preferring to respond to talk with actions. In his address to the nation last Tuesday, the elected president of the Bolivarian Republic stated that the government is considering measures to nullify threats to the country from the West. Without delving into the full list, Maduro highlighted one measure in particular. The president declared that the option of expropriating U.S. oil projects in the country and transferring them to allied nations such as China, Russia, India, or Brazil is already being considered. According to the Western press, these actions could also extend to all U.S. allies who also support the opposition, such as the EU countries. These people from the North and their accomplices around the world, by supporting the opposition and trying to pressure us, are making the biggest mistake of their lives. But they will likely only realize this when those oil and gas fields, for which they have already signed development contracts, are transferred to our BRICS allies, the Venezuelan leader stated. Credit must be given to Nicolas Maduro. He has firmly grasped what the proper manner of conduct should be in relations with the Western world. International law is nothing, rules are everything. And the rules dictate, act in your own interest and disregard what is written in some agreements. It is no secret that Venezuela has faced enormous economic challenges in recent years: hyperinflation, high unemployment, and pressure from the West, primarily the US, aimed at disrupting political stability and installing a pro-Western politician, formerly Juan Guaido, now Edmundo González, as president. The US has effectively crippled the operations of Venezuela's main oil company, PDVSA. PDVSA began operations in 1976 after Caracas announced the nationalization of the oil industry a year earlier. Subsequently, it allowed foreign capital into its authorized capital, with foreign holdings reaching up to 49%. The company holds, according to various sources, between 20% and 24% of the world's proven oil reserves. In October 2016, the Venezuelan government pledged 50.1% of Citgo, PDVSA's largest subsidiary headquartered in Texas, shares to PDVSA bondholders as collateral to secure a $3.367 billion loan. In December 2016, according to the Panamanian publication Pan Am Post, the government secretly transferred the remaining 49.9% as collateral for a loan to the Russian government. Based on this information from the Panamanian media, the aforementioned Moreno concludes that this way, the Russian state company Rosneft gained full control over the Citgo refinery in the U.S. On August 28, 2017, U.S. President Donald Trump prohibited his country from conducting transactions involving debt securities and shares issued by the Venezuelan government and its state oil company, PDVSA, as well as transactions with certain existing bonds belonging to the Venezuelan state sector and the payment of dividends to Nicolas Maduro's government. In 2019, the Trump administration imposed sanctions on virtually the entire Venezuelan tanker fleet, aiming to deprive PDVSA of the ability to sell its oil abroad. In November 2022, when the global oil market was in crisis, the United States signed a historic agreement with Venezuela, resulting in the American oil giant Chevron receiving license number 41. This authorization allowed the Yankees to continue their activities in this Caribbean country, while providing Venezuela with some breathing room in the external market. This détente continued in 2023 when an agreement was signed to temporarily suspend all sanctions in exchange for negotiations with the opposition on holding free and transparent elections. The U.S. tightened its grip again after the CNE, National Electoral Council, barred two opposition candidates, Corina Machado and Corina Yuriz, from running for president. The Americans stated that the Venezuelan government had failed to fulfill its commitments to ensure the integrity of the elections on any front. Washington reverted to its sanctions policy, but Caracas kept License Number 41 in effect. Moreover, the permission to work with Venezuelan oil was effectively extended to other Western companies, such as Spain's Repsol, France's Morel and Prom, and Italy's Eni. According to Western experts, particularly Francisco Minaldi, director of the Latin American program at Rice University's Baker Institute for Public Policy in Houston, today, Venezuela's oil industry is entirely dependent on investments and decisions made by Chevron. He added that the nationalization of fields and enterprises followed by their transfer to Chinese, Russian, Indian, or Brazilian companies is fraught with disaster. Venezuela needs dollars to curb inflation, and Chevron is a major driver of this currency inflow, a very important source of dollars that has helped prevent the devaluation of the bolivar. Caracas has made great efforts to avoid this devaluation. By driving the American giant out of its market, it risks losing everything, warns Minaldi. To make his gloomy forecasts appear even more alarming, the expert deliberately overlooks the topic of BRICS countries creating their own currency for intra-block transactions and with their partners, as well as the subject of transactions between countries in national currencies. Meanwhile, in 2023, about 20% of oil deals were already conducted without the involvement of the dollar. The benefits for Russia, as well as Brazil, China, and India, in strengthening their position in the Venezuelan oil market are obvious. It not only provides new levers of influence on global oil prices but also strengthens their stance in opposition to the US and the rest of the West. For Venezuela, cooperation with BRICS countries, and with Russia in particular, means liberation from Washington's dictate and the ability to ignore the sanctions imposed on Caracas. Venezuelan experts expect that cooperation with BRICS will allow the country to increase its daily oil production from the current 992,000 barrels per day to 2 million by 2025. And this is not the limit. In 1998, production reached a record 3.3 million barrels, meaning there are serious prospects for growth in production and profitability for BRICS investors. Moreover, as is well known, Venezuela possesses the largest proven oil reserves in the world.